Good morning. Happy Sunday. So glad you are all here today. Just want to make sure if you're an active member, you have picked up your ballot in the back. We opened the business meeting during the first service, so the meeting is currently going on. And the ballot box is in the table on the back. We have a new ballot box back there, so be sure you drop in your ballot back there. I also want to remind you that you don't have to drop in this whole thing. This is your information to keep to take home. There's a micro perf on one side, and you just pull it off, and that's your ballot that you drop in the box. So I kept seeing people drop the whole thing, and that has your name on there. So we know exactly who you vote for when you do that. Anyway, I just want to remind you to do that. So you are voting to approve the annual budget. If you want more information about the annual budget, it's inside your bulletin that you got this morning on the inside cover. And then also, if you want more information about different things that are going on at the church, there's inside the ballot, there is a state of communion. Lots of great reading. If you want, you can take it home and read it if you really want to pay attention to the service today, because it's going to be a really great message. So I want to encourage you to do that. So also want to remind you about the capital campaign. If you want any information about the capital campaign, our greeters in the lobby have the information that they can give you. They'll give you an envelope that explains. People who haven't been coming that long are trying to figure out what this capital campaign is we keep talking about and what this is about. So all the information is in that envelope. They will give it to you. And if you choose to do a pledge, there's a pledge sheet in there that you can also pledge to give over the next 2 years to support our capital campaign and all of the things that it's going to cover. Anne, would you like to come up and share about your health class?
Good morning. First, I'd like to thank everybody that have attended over the last 2 weeks. Our speaker on Wednesday was appreciative. He enjoyed meeting everybody. But coming up this week, we're now into the good stuff. What can we do to take care of our brain so we age without the threat of dementia and Alzheimer's, which is on a very, very big rise? Come one, come all. We have Rebecca Dexter of Senior Helpers. She's going to end her presentation with all the different prevention modules with some brain games. 12 o'clock and 6:30 right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Angie, you want to come up?
Good morning. I was taken by surprise today, but I want to extend an invitation to Crosswalk to this event that will be at Berkeley School of Theology on Friday, June 6th. DEI Matters will be a day of learning with our Director of Intercultural Leadership, Dr. Brian Leander, who Pete and I are working to get here to Crosswalk sometime soon. He'll be speaking and sharing about what it means to be an organization or a church that is oriented to diversity. And I'll be moderating 3 panel discussions on that day. One that defines DEI, one around DEI in pastoral practice or in Christian ministry, and one around DEI in kind of the public square. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. We'd love to have a Crosswalk group. Crosswalk as an organization is a sponsor for the day. And Stephen Corley told me to feel free to say that he'd be willing to carpool and help organize a group if you'd like to come down. So please come.
Thank you so much. Awesome, great stuff going on. So get involved. Good chance to get involved. Thank you again for choosing to be here at Crosswalk today and every day that you choose to be here. And thank you for choosing to support Crosswalk. If you're new or visiting for the first time, we have a gift bag for you back in the back. You can go back and grab a bag. It'll give you a little more information about our church and why we do things the way we do, why we teach the way we do. And also we have some books back there available for you to choose one of the books as our gift to you. If you do not have an easy to read, easy to understand Bible, please let that be our gift to you as well. So Pete, you want to come on up? Oh, nope, it's Anne's turn. And you got a mic?
Good morning. My name is Anne, for those of you who don't know me, but we're going to stand up and sing a song together. I hope this is one you know, and if it isn't, just, good morning. You know it. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. If you want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see, wait and see. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. People now, put a little love in your heart each and every day. Put a little love in your heart, it will come your way. Put a little love in your heart, you ought to. Put a little love in your heart, come on, say. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. One more time. Put a little love in your heart. Nice. All right, have a seat. I'm going to share with you a song that has been speaking to me lately. And it is, I love the honesty of this song, that it is about when you might not feel God close. Sometimes I doubt God's love, I doubt God's presence, and I just stand in the knowledge that regardless, God has grace for me, God has love for me. So that's what this one is about to me. I'll sing it now. Sometimes I believe all the lies so I can do the things I despise. And every day I am swayed by whatever is on my mind. I hear it all depends on my faith, so I'm feeling precarious. The only problem I have with these mysteries is they're so mysterious. Like a consumer, I've been thinking if I could just get a bit more than my 15 minutes of faith, then I'd be secure. My faith is like shifting sand, changed by every way. My faith is like shifting sand, so I stand on grace. Stand on grace. I begged you for some proof for my Thomas eyes to see. Slithering staff, a leprous hand, and lions resting lazily. A glimpse of your backside glory and this soaked altar going ablaze. But you know I've seen so much that I've explained away. My faith is like shifting sand, changed by every way. My faith is like shifting sand, so I stand on faith. Waters rose as my doubts rained. A sandcastle faith, it slipped away. Found myself standing on your grace. Had been there all the time, changed by every way. My faith is like shifting sand, so I stand on grace. My faith is like shifting sand, changed by every way. My faith is like shifting sand, so I stand on grace. Stand on grace. We're going to do a little meditation now together. And I hope you're not tired of my voice. I have been reading this book lately. I picked it back up. It's called Love Poems from God. It has voices from all different kinds of sacred traditions and all times throughout time, eras throughout time. This poem by St. Francis of Assisi spoke to me this week, and I wanted to share it with you, and then lead you in an imaginative meditation. So settle into your seat, feel your feet on the floor, the stillness of this place. If you're comfortable, feel free to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Francis wrote, "Our hands imbibe like roots, so I place them on what is beautiful in this world, and I fold them in prayer, and they draw from the heavens light." With your next breath, think about something true you thought or spoke recently. It can be simple, like, "I'm hungry" or "I'm tired." It can be profound, like, "I love you." Imagine that true thing sits in your hands. What does it feel like? What does it weigh? With your next breath, think about a true thing God has spoken to you or expressed to you. If you can't think of anything, I would offer this from God's scripture. God loves you. God is with us wherever we go. Feel the weight of that thing, that true thing in your hands. Take a deep breath and accept that truth. Our hands imbibe like roots, so I place them on what is beautiful in this world. And I fold them in prayer, and they draw from the heavens light. Take one more cleansing breath with me. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the people next to you. Return to this place. And open your eyes when you are ready. We're going to sing one more song together. I invite you to stand if you're able. This is a song from long ago that many, many voices before us have sung. And the theology may at times feel like it doesn't line up with how we think about God being everywhere and present all the time. But I love singing these things that people so many centuries before us have sung. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Riches I heed not, nor men's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance, thou and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart, thy King of heaven. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, the bright heaven's sun. Lord of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler above all.
Thank you, Ann. That was lovely. Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming today. If you're new to this church, I'm Pete, and I'm happy to be the pastor here for just 25 years. So that's that's good. Yeah, all right. Thanks. Really glad you're here today. It is a business meeting, and if you have any questions about anything about the agenda that we've been voting on, or really anything about the church at all, right after the service, you're welcome to ask those things. I'll ask Ed to hang out a little bit, and Liz is here, our chair for the board, and Dar's here in case I forget what I'm supposed to remember. So we tag team like that. So anyway, the business meeting will close after all the questions are answered. So that'll be after the service is complete. So we're getting back into the Following the Call series, which I launched in January. That's that big fat book that we're taking a year to get through. About 4 or 5 pages of reading a week. If you're not familiar with this, I think it's a fantastic collection of essays along various themes each week. And it's marching us through Jesus' greatest sermon called the Sermon on the Mount. For the last few weeks in the book, if you've been reading it, even though we're not focusing on it on Sundays, what you've noticed is Jesus is talking about something that was familiar ways of interpreting Scripture and what we're supposed to do with our lives as faithful people, and he's changing it. So in multiple lines throughout the middle of this Sermon on the Mount, he says, I know you've heard it said this way, but now I tell you this. Now, what you need to know is every time he says, you've heard it this way, and now I'm telling you this, every time he says, now I'm telling you this, he's giving a new interpretation on a very familiar text or idea. And every time he does that, he makes the religious leaders and scribes and authorities cringe. Because he's correcting them. He's giving the people a new way of thinking about the thing that they've been saying for a very long time. Does that make sense? Now, that's helpful for us to know because sometimes we think that Jesus played it safe. He didn't play it safe. His words, his interpretations got him in trouble. They got into people's lives and it bothered them. What we're going to look at today probably bothered a lot of the people in his audience, not just the religious leaders, because he's talking about what we do with our speech in this passage on truthfulness. This is what he says right in the heart of this sermon. He says, you have also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say by earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. I've tried this. It's not working for me. Just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. So he's talking about, you need to know a little bit of context here. So back at this time in Jesus' life and in world history, apparently there was a practice of people who would make these vows about things that were really important. And the idea was, if you didn't make a vow about the thing that you were saying, you couldn't really be held accountable for it. You know what I mean? So he's saying this is ridiculous. Let your truth be the truth. Say what is true about you. Be a person of your word. You don't need to take a vow on any of that stuff. And as I was reading about this, it kind of reminded me of this old game, Simon Says. Do you remember that game? And the deal is everybody's gets all these instructions, but the only ones you follow are when Simon says to do the thing. And if you follow the direction that Simon didn't say, you're out of the game. You got to take a seat, right? Any of you ever played that game? Guess what? We're going to play that game right now. So Simon says, stand if you are able. By the way, I got to let you know, Dar was a rock star on this. I could not shake her in the early service. So let's see. She's a reigning champion right now. Let's just say that. She did really well among some others. Most people lost in the first round. All right, so here we go. So I already told you, Simon says, stand up. Simon says, raise your right arm. Simon says, raise your left arm. Simon says, raise your right hand. Oh, wait. You're doing something I'm doing. Yeah, technically you're right. I said the wrong thing. Simon says, wave your right hand. Wave your left hand. If you're waving your left hand, take a seat. All right. Simon says, wave your left hand. All right. Simon says, put both arms down. Simon says, walk in place. Simon says, raise your right hand. Raise your left hand. Take a seat if you raised your left hand. You're out. Simon did not say, raise your left hand. All right. Simon says, take your left hand and do this on your belly. Simon says, pat your head with your right hand. Take your right hand away. Oh, good job. Good job. All right. Simon says, stop marching in place. Simon says, raise your left hand. Simon says, raise your right hand. Wave your right hand. Very good. Simon says, wave your left hand. Did I say Simon said to stop marching? Okay, good. March again. March again. Oh, all right. Simon says, have a seat. Game over. You guys did great. Wow. Clearly, the 9 o'clock service has not had enough coffee by the time we get into that game. So Simon says it's kind of this ridiculous thing, right? It's a fun game for kids, kind of a fun game for adults too, right? If we might be honest with each other. But it reminded me too, this whole truthfulness talk about the fingers crossed thing, right? Remember that as a kid, where you're talking to somebody on the playground saying, I'll do this or I'll do that. And if you don't do it, what do you say? Fingers crossed, right? Because it somehow invalidates anything that your word said. We do this kind of a thing. It's kind of silly. It's interesting, though, that with our word, this is kind of what Jesus is getting at. We have the capacity to build our word over time so that people trust what we say and believe in what we're saying because it resonates, it's consistent over time. And yet we have the capacity to do the exact opposite, to ruin our word. And if we're honest with each other, to some degree, well, let's say, if we're human. Are you human? I know I am. If we are truly human, there has been a moment in your life, or perhaps several moments in your life, where you have not lived up to your word. And it's come back to bite you. Now, sometimes it's pretty casual and it's not a big deal. It's just, pleasant company or whatever. Or you're being social or whatnot. Maybe you see another crosswalker downtown and you're shooting the breeze and it's a Saturday. And so you just say, hey, see you tomorrow in church, even though you know you're probably not going to be there because you're going to go hike or something like that, right? But you say it because it just feels like, a nice thing to say. You're both going to the church and all that stuff. That kind of thing we just kind of blow off because things happen, life happens. You might wake up with the sniffles or whatnot, or a hike sounds pretty good today, right? So maybe you are having envy over this person who copped out on church, right? Those kind of things, maybe they're not that big of a deal. But in more important relationships, it becomes a big deal over time, doesn't it? You can get away with 1 or 2 or maybe 3 times where you say you're going to do something and then you don't live up to it. And the person, if it's a good relationship with one you want to keep, one you want to maintain health, that person, if they care enough, is going to hold you accountable. And I bet all of us have been held accountable on occasion. And the first 1 or 2 times, it's like, hey, Pete, you said you were going to do thus and so, and then you didn't. I was kind of counting on you to do thus and so, and you didn't. And I might try to squirrel around a little bit, might get defensive about it. Well, you don't understand. Yeah, but I had to do this, and then and I make all kinds of reasons why I didn't live up to my word. But if we keep doing it repeatedly, it becomes very problematic in the relationship, doesn't it? And eventually that person who we're in relationship with, be it a good friend or a spouse or a child of ours, grown or not, they begin to not really trust our word. They don't really believe what we say, even if we say it as passionately as possible, because they've kind of heard the nonsense that Jesus was speaking into. Like, if you don't have your word, what do you have? I remember there was a guy in my first church in Northern Illinois, and he was a good guy, a good Jesus follower, but he made a terrible mistake in his life. And I remember him telling me, sobbing over the phone, he said, you can spend decades trying to build your reputation. It only takes a second to destroy it. Some of us have destroyed words. Some of us in other circles, we may have given our word that we're going to do something, and then we just don't do it. And in organizations, we can do that for a while until after a while, the organization's kind of realizing, even if the person says yes, we really can't count on that person following through. And then what happens? The person doesn't get asked anymore because they have a reputation for not doing what they said they would. And that becomes very problematic. When do you have that hard conversation? So we know that what Jesus is talking about is actually quite important in our lives. And he's saying, away with the nonsense of taking oaths and crossing fingers, and Simon says, be true to your word. And by the way, we need to just give ourselves a little bit of a break and an off-ramp. None of us are perfect. We're all going to blow this at times. Even Jesus blew it at times. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this staying true to your word, it's actually a big part of our own justice system, isn't it? If you lie under oath, either in a courtroom or a deposition or something like that, where you're taking a legal oath so that there's no wiggle room out, there's no squirreling away like, oh, I didn't think you want me to be serious with this question. If we take an oath and we willingly lie, not just misinformation that we didn't know any better, but we actually go out of our way to tell an untruth, that carries a penalty. 5 to 7 years in jail for just not telling the truth. Why do we have that built into our justice system? It's because if we can't trust the words of the people who are giving testimony, that means that the justice itself could be off. Now, this is actually a kind of a challenging time in our history right now because our commander-in-chief of our country swears an oath to protect the Constitution. And when the Constitution is not protected, that kind of challenges the oath that was taken. Now, there's a lot of people that are very divided on our country right now, in our country right now about this. And I just want to tell you something really loud and clear. This has always been a problem in our country. It has always been a problem in our country. Of even the very first president swearing an oath to defend the Constitution and not doing anything to live up to it. How long in our country did our Constitution and our founding documents say all men are created equal? And how long has it taken for all people to really experience this? This isn't to excuse anything that's going on. We need to take it seriously. But at the same time, let's be honest about the humanity of our own nation and our struggle to live up to our word as people. Sometimes we blow off all this talk stuff and say, the old childhood adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Does anybody still believe that? No, in fact, I would say that that's one of the greatest lies we tell children. Now, we tell them that so that they don't take too seriously the bully on the playground. But all of us know too well that it is those harsh words. It's those things that were said by people who mattered to us whether or not they deserve to matter to us, that carry great weight, that land us in therapy because we have to work it out. Words are powerful, and they can change lives. There was a columnist named Earl Wilson, and he said, "If you won't write it down and sign it, don't say it." If you won't write it down and sign it, don't say it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. However, we've got some problems because there are social situations where it's difficult to just speak the truth plainly. Am I right? There's the ugly baby problem in our world, among other things. Are any of you Seinfeld fans show from many years ago? Well, there's this scene. I remembered this clip from this particular show where the gang, Jerry and Elaine and George and Kramer, are invited up to the Hamptons for a free weekend at their friend's house so they can meet this beautiful baby. And we just want to see how this all worked out. So make sure the volume's up on this, Gordon. Here we go.
Isn't he gorgeous? Ew. Is he gorgeous? Oh, gorgeous. Yes.
So very gorgeous.
Michael, shut the door. You're letting bugs in.
Is it me, or was that the ugliest baby you have ever seen?
Oh, I couldn't look. It was like a Pekingese.
Boy, a little too much chlorine in that gene pool. And you know, the thing is, they'll never know. No one's ever going to tell them.
Oh, you have to lie.
Oh, it's a must-lie situation.
Yes, it's a must-lie situation.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Oh, yeah!
Love it, man. I can watch that over and over again, right? So we know that we all have these situations, right, where we're careful with our words. And I bet you've been in multiple situations. You may have already been in this situation today where you're having a conversation with somebody and you love these people. It's crosswalk. We all get along. No judgment zone, right? But this person just took a bite of one of those Long Johns with a lot of chocolate frosting on it. They're delicious. And about half the frosting stayed on their front tooth. And you're having a conversation as they laugh and smile. I see you all checking your teeth right now. And you want to say something so bad, but you don't want to be impolite. You don't want to embarrass the person. Anybody ever been in that situation? Maybe today, maybe, who knows? I've had many occasions as a pastor. I've officiated hundreds of weddings over my career. And I have now say to people, to groomsmen in particular, check your fly before we take the stage. Because invariably, if I don't, somebody's going to be bringing more to the wedding than anybody wanted to enjoy. So these kinds of things, these social problems are with us all the time. How do we deal with this? What do we do with it? There was a situation kind of like this. There's some ways to think about this. But in John chapter 7, the gospel gives us kind of a lie that Jesus tells. And I think he's doing it because he's wanting to be polite, but nonetheless, he tells an untruth. Now, I can tell you right away that maybe John is just trying to give us a theological vision here, and he is in part, but still it's very interesting to me that the gospel writer would give us the lie. And the lie is one of Jesus's brothers comes to him and he says, hey, we're all heading down to the Festival of Shelters in Jerusalem. Do you want to make this multi-day hike with us? We're leaving right now. And Jesus says, oh, no, my time has not yet come. He basically says, I'm not going to the festival. And so the brothers head on out. And like the next day, Jesus heads out toward Jerusalem to go to the Festival of Shelters. Very interesting. It's a lie. There's a couple other instances which get a little weird for Jesus too, but that's one of them where he struggled to just say plainly, for whatever reason, we're not exactly sure, but he did it. Well, we get some advice from other parts of Scripture. Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. James 1, who's apparently the brother of Jesus, 19, says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." An old friend of mine used to quip, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen much more than you speak." It's good advice. Ecclesiastes 3, and a whole list of things about there's a time and a season for this and that and the other. The wisdom writer says there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. This is one of those slides that we ought to have on our refrigerator every day, right? Especially in divided, charged times like we have. James goes on to say quite a bit about how we use our mouth. And he says this, "Don't be in any rush to become a teacher, my friends. Teaching is highly responsible work. Teachers are held to the strictest standards, and none of us is perfectly qualified." In all fairness, James never met me. Just kidding. Absolutely kidding. We get it wrong nearly every time. No, not nearly every time. Every time we open our mouths. If you could find someone whose speech was perfectly true, you'd have a perfect person in perfect control of life. A bit in the mouth of a horse controls the whole horse. A small rudder on a huge ship in the hands of a skilled captain sets a course in the face of the strongest winds. A word out of your mouth may seem of no account, but it can accomplish nearly anything or destroy it. It only takes a spark, remember, to set off a forest fire. A careless or wrongly placed word out of your mouth can do that. By our speech, we can ruin the world, turn harmony to chaos, throw mud on a reputation, and the whole world up in smoke, and go up in, what did I do there? Send the whole world up in smoke and go up in smoke with it. Smoke right from the pit of hell. This is scary. You can tame a tiger, but you can't tame a tongue. It's never been done. Just want to say that again so that we're honest with each other about this struggle. This apparently is a human management problem. We are always going to have an issue taming our tongue. You can tame a tiger, but you can't tame a tongue. It's never been done. The tongue runs wild, a wanton killer. With our tongues, we bless God our Father. With the same tongues, we curse the very men and women he made in his image. Curses and blessings out of the same mouth. My friends, this can't go on. A spring doesn't gush fresh water one day and brackish the next, does it? Apple trees don't bear strawberries, do they? Raspberry bushes don't bear apples, do they? You're not going to dip into a polluted mud hole and get a cup of clear, cool water, are you? So apparently James is taking what we do with our language in our mouth very seriously. And I wonder, what is our rule then? How do we go forward? Because it kind of feels like it's a tightrope, right? Like every step of the way. If I wouldn't write it, wouldn't sign it, I don't want to say it. You know, I mean, who can do that in real time, right? Almost feels like you're walking on eggshells all the time. Somebody asks you a question, you're like, you freeze up because you're not quite sure you're going to say it right. And you don't want to mess up because Jesus just said, you got to get this right. A yes and a yes and a no and a no. Be true to your word. Well, I wonder if we need to not give ourselves an excuse, but cut ourselves some slack. And I wonder, rather than thinking about perfection, which we will never, ever reach, we need to think about a word that's adjacent to that, especially when translating the Greek. This shows up in the Sermon on the Mount, actually, because Jesus is talking, I think, a little bit later about being true to the law. And he says, you must be perfect, even more perfect than the teachers of the law, who knew exactly all the rules to do. And most modern English translations read it just like that. Perfection is the goal. And the disciples kind of freaked out about it, as we would. But really the word, you've heard me say this before, is maturity. It's maturation. Be mature, even more mature than the teachers of the law, who are, he'll later on say, who will say this is what you are to do, but they don't actually do it. The maturity that Jesus is calling us to is one of a deepening maturity, which I think has a lot to do with the rule of shalom. We talk a lot about shalom around here. There's a passage in the New Testament that says God is love. I would say God may be shalom. That may be a bigger, better word for it, a bigger umbrella. It's a foreign word. The Hebrew makes us think and check ourselves for a moment because it's such a dense, rich word. I think this word, which means well-being and holistic health, harmony with everything, love is included in that, peace, of course, in that. I think that's the genesis. I think that's where God starts. It may even be the greatest characteristic of God. It may even be God. If God is love, maybe love is God. I don't know. That kind of makes sense to me, but it's the beginning of everything. It's why creation continues at an accelerated pace to this day. Something is forcing that into creation. It's a creative process. And shalom is about that. It's a naturally built-in thing to the fabric of everything, which does not exclude death either. That becomes part of that same process. Shalom brings it all together. And if we take the biblical vision seriously, with very broad strokes, if we take a look at the very end of the Bible, the book of Revelation, what is God bringing all of this thing toward in this vision? Shalom. Shalom, restoration, redemption for all, harmony, enough for everyone, everybody getting along. That's the vision. How does God choose to get from the very beginning to the very end? He does it with shalom. God is always operating in shalom as the end and the means. I wonder if we just started our days that way, if we might do a little better. As we're eating our bacon and eggs, or whatever you eat, just making a covenant to ourselves. Today I'm going to live in shalom. I'm going to choose to be shalomy today, all day, as best as I can. And I wonder if we imagine what our days hold. We're looking at our calendars. We're looking at our appointments. I wonder if we could even say, when I'm going to have that conversation with Tony or whoever that person is, I love Tony, so that's going to be an easy, shalomy conversation for me. But then I know I'm having that conversation with Betty. And Betty always knows how to push my buttons. God, help me have a shalomy conversation with Betty. And George, he and I never get along. Help me have a shalom-focused conversation, even with George, who I know is going to say some things that just tick me off. I wonder how that might change our interactions throughout the day. Might catch us a little bit. Thomas Merton was kind of saying the same thing. Thomas Merton was a great Catholic mystic. He was the Richard Rohr before Richard Rohr. He was brilliant. He's the guy that we get the idea of our true self from. Just absolutely brilliant. Read everything he's ever written. And he said this: in the end, the problem of sincerity is a problem of love. A sincere person is not so much one who sees the truth and manifests it as he sees it, but one who loves the truth with a pure love. But the truth is more than an abstraction. It lives and is embodied in people and things that are real. And the secret of sincerity is, therefore, not to be sought in a philosophical love for abstract truth, but in a love for real people and real things. A love for God apprehended in the reality around us. It is difficult to express in words how important this notion is. The whole problem of our time is not lack of knowledge, but lack of love. If we only loved one another, we would have no difficulty in trusting one another and in sharing the truth with one another. Religion has always tried to control things. And in that process of controlling and figuring out what is truth and what is orthodox, we've often left love as a secondary pursuit. I've had conversations with people over delicate things, very complex ethical, moral, faith issues that they're trying to work through, extremely thorny. And I've tried to say, as they're going through this with some folks, at the end of the day, there may be some gray area, some fuzziness about this issue or this interpretation, but one thing we're clear on: we're to love one another. We're to love one another. You don't have to like one another, but we're called to love one another, which means that we treat each other with love. And not in a way that I would come away from the conversation and say, well, I feel very confident that I love that person very clearly. but rather the other person would walk away from the conversation and say, I felt loved in that conversation. Who cares what I think? If the person I'm having the conversation with doesn't feel that, I've missed it. It's important stuff. The writer of Ephesians adds a little bit more. This is the amplified version, by the way, so where the Greek gets really tricky and is hard to translate into English, it gives us more to think about. And this is what the Ephesian writer says: let our lives lovingly express truth in all things, speaking truly, dealing truly, living truly. Enfolded in love, let us grow up in every way and in all things like Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. So this simple statement of Jesus, let your yes be yes and your no be no, it's a little deeper than it appears, isn't it? This gets to how we're talking to each other. I appreciated Anne's meditation today because it offered up this question: when is a truth that you have heard? And I wonder if it should be directly related to when have you heard God speak, because I think that probably truth and what God is saying to us usually go hand in hand. And I wonder if there is some truth here that we all need to hear. Truth about our own tongues and this own management project. And maybe the best thing that we walk away with today is just to be honest that we get it wrong. We say things wrong. Even Jesus said things non-shalomi at times. I think Angie, who did a fantastic job last Sunday, I think she brought this up with the Syrophoenician woman. Jesus got it wrong. He wasn't shalomi at all in his vision or his words. There's another chapter in one of the Gospels, it's Matthew 23, where personally, I think Jesus got it wrong for an entire chapter. He's venting, he's angry. I'm not so sure he's shalomi. It's not that he's speaking untruth, but it just sometimes, if I was on the receiving end of what he's saying the entire chapter, I'm not sure I would walk away from that conversation convinced that Jesus was all about love and shalom. To me, that gives me great hope. If Jesus, who I esteem as like the model that I want to follow and order my steps by, if he struggled, I know I'm going to struggle. So we don't give ourselves an excuse, but we cut each other some slack. That sometimes we need to speak truth to ourselves, like, I got that wrong. I can do that better. Maybe the truth that we need to speak to ourselves is that we need to start speaking to ourselves with shalom. Because the harshest words we may say are to ourselves, degrading ourselves, berating ourselves. Maybe that's the truth you need to hear today. Maybe for you, it has to do with, I don't know if you're aware, but we live in a politically divided culture right now. And maybe for you, it's when you're having conversation with people who do not have the same political vision as you. And you hear them talking with great fervor about their passionate belief in whatever this opposite thing is that you believe. And they're saying things that are getting you riled up. And maybe the big truth for you today is to hear this voice, this woo calling you towards shalom, even when faced with all the barbs, all the buttons being pushed. How can you sow into shalom? Because it's when we do that shalom actually has a chance. We'll actually talk more about that next week, which will be really fascinating because next week is Memorial Day weekend, where we rightly honor those who gave everything, gave their lives. We memorialize them for protecting freedom around the world. And yet at the same time, we're going to be talking about violence next week. Now, how do we sort this tension out of living as Jesus people who are nonviolent and the world's superpower with the greatest military that has ever been known? How do we deal with this tension? That's next week, but the tension's already with us and what we do with our words and our mouth. So I have a benediction for you. And you're going to end up hearing this 3 times. You're going to say it twice. But the first time, I just want you to hear me say it out loud. May you and I be wise as we consider when to speak and when to be silent. And when we choose to open our mouths after first listening, may our words be crafted with love, delivered with love, and received as love. Let's say it together. May you and I be wise as we consider when to speak and when to be silent. And when we choose to open our mouths after first listening, may our words be crafted with love, delivered with love, and received as love. Now I invite you to get comfortable and close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Breathe deeply. And I'm just wondering what word you have heard today. What did you need to hear? What is the truth that you need to listen to? Perhaps some or all of you are recognizing that you have been the recipient, even the victim, of poorly chosen words. And the wounds are still with you. And unfortunately, sometimes those life-altering words that cut so deep, those wounds we will be working on healing for the rest of our lives. Maybe today you just need to be validated in the pain that you have endured because of what was said. May a healing balm of the Spirit of God, which is bathed in shalom, may it nurture your heart and tend to your wound. Very likely, whatever was said did not recognize or validate or celebrate who you are in all of your glory as a child of God, but served to take that joy away from you. May you start to get it back. The word that God has been wooing and whispering into your ear your whole life. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved just as you are. Maybe today you are aware more than you were before of words that have come out of your mouth that you wish you could get back, that you know caused harm. And maybe they weren't the life killer type ones, but they hurt people that you loved. They worked against the shalom that God is trying to build in the world, even with people you hate. But maybe today is a day of turning that around. And the woo of God is saying, there's another way. I'll help you sleep better at night. It'll help make the world a better place and you a more mature person. May you be humble enough, may we be humble enough to own up to our own words when they've been off, to own up to our word when we have broken it. May we hear your voice, Spirit of God, say, there's always a second chance. There's always another chance. There's always a new day for you to step into shalom in greater, fuller, deeper ways. Today is the day. God, at the end of the day, this is a teaching from Jesus about living with integrity, about living in honesty, and that lifestyle is healing. And so I pray for healing today of wounds that have been caused by words, and healing from the need to use words to harm others, that we might be aware of the why behind the what that we do, and that we might be ever listening for your invitation to love more fully, to live in and for and toward shalom. To that end, God, may you strengthen us in our resolve to live up to and into the benediction we will say one more time. If you'll raise your eyes to the screen, let's say it again. May you and I be wise as we consider when to speak and when to be silent. And when we choose to open our mouths after first listening, may our words be crafted with love, delivered with love, and received as love. Amen. Thanks for coming today. Hope you had a good experience. We will see you next week, Memorial Day weekend.